Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. Happy Monday. I hope you guys are having a great start to your work week and a fantastic Monday afternoon, evening, or if you've even gone to bed already, I hope you're sleeping well. I am cold. It is cold here for me in Northern California, and I know I cannot complain about the cold. I do not know how those of you that live in the snow on the on the East Coast to the Midwest, Montana, I don't get it. I am freezing, but it has meant I've gotten some great reading in, some good snuggle time with my pets, so I cannot complain really in the long run. I am starting a new video series here today, which I am calling Happy Book Birthday. It is to celebrate the books that I have on my shelves that are coming out in the current month. So all of the books that we are going to talk about in today's video are coming out in February of 2019. So as I always say, get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, because I think a lot of these are going to wind up on your TBR lists. Also, if any of them really strike your fancy, highly recommend that you pre-order them from your local independent bookstore or the publisher, just to support them. That really does help them and give them that extra boost. Or if you need to have your library pre-order them, please help them know what you want to see on their shelves. The first stacks of this is really books that I have already read. So you could probably find a review of them. You can find a review of them either at the end of 2018 in my last December wrap up, and or in my read and review videos throughout 2019. They will be there. So if you're looking for a more in-depth review from me on these books, please go there to those videos, because I'm going to try to keep these fairly short and sweet. So let's get started with February 5th, which is tomorrow, where there are a ton of amazing books come out. Now, I went to my local bookstore yesterday, and ironically, they had a couple of the books that are coming out tomorrow on their shelves. So I bought a couple that I've read so that I could have them, the official copies. And let's start with The Winter Sister by Megan Collins. This was the first thriller that I had really read, and this is really a murder mystery. Thriller seems to have sort of a different connotation to me. But this is an amazing book and really opened my mind to a genre I hadn't read in quite some time. What Megan Collins does in this book is tell the story of two sisters in their teenage years when the older of the two sisters disappears and is found dead. That act changes the relationship between our main character and her mother, and her sister's death is never solved. We jump forward in time to the sister coming back home as the mom is being diagnosed with cancer of the esophagus and needs her to take care of her. And then this leads to an investigation into her sister's death and a whole bunch of stuff that comes to the forefront. The mystery in this is pretty straightforward. We're trying to find out what happened to the sister. What is fantastic about this book is the relationships between the sisters as shown in flashback, and also the relationship between our main character and the mother. The family dynamic, the language, sort of the sophistication around that is excellent. Highly recommend this book. This is The Winter Sister by Megan Collins, and this is out from Atria Books tomorrow. The next book that is out, and I got a copy of, you guys know I've been raving about for some time, and that is The Ruin of Kings by Jenn Lyons. This is also out from Tor Books, and this comes out tomorrow. This is a fantastic new fantasy series. Sorry, I got a weird glare there because of this cover. But it is worth every minute of this chunkster of a novel. Told about our main character, Kieran, in really two sections. One from his point of view after he is kidnapped and taken away from the life that he has been leading. He tells that story. And then there is a sort of a shape-shifting monster that tells his story about his life up to the point where he is kidnapped. Turns out that monster can change into other people and, by eating their brains, absorb some of their memories and become sort of attached to people through the relationships that those people that they have killed had with different people. I hope that made sense. What's even more fascinating is as we learn about the life of Karen and what is going on, this is actually being sort of documented by a third person that's sort of listening to an audio recording. I'll leave the magic of that to you while you guys get it in the story. And he has his own perspective, which he puts throughout the novel in footnotes, which is excellently handled. This book is rip-roaring good fun. It is a great fantasy book, really cool world, really cool magic, demons, monsters, just bad human beings, and a main character that's truly worth rooting for. And yes, there is a dragon, and it is very, very well done. I cannot wait for book 2. I've heard Jenn Lyons told me on Twitter that book 2 should probably come out this year as well. I am on the tip of my toes, ready to read it. And that's The Ruin of Kings by Jenn Lyons, out from Tor Books, and it is out tomorrow. Highly recommend if you guys are into fantasy. That series is going to be very big. I think that will be the big fantasy book to go along with one we will talk about in just a few seconds. The next book that I read that comes out tomorrow is this little novella, Savage Conversations by Leanne Howe. This is a fantastic take on Mary Todd Lincoln after she is committed into an asylum, mainly by her son. She is haunted by the ghost of a Native American who sort of represents the spirit of a group of, is it 32? Let me see if I can remember the exact, 38 Dakota Indians that were ordered to death by President Lincoln. This book is told in verse and sort of a play format, and also just in a way that is very freeform. The language is gorgeous. The ideas are really thought-provoking. I still think about this, even though it's this thin, and it took me like a day to read because it is so engaging. I will be getting my own copy of this. I'm interested to see what they do in the final version of it. Even the rope that hung the Indians, that sounds like a weird phrase, has its own sort of mantra and or perspective that is really powerfully done. The Mary Todd Lincoln is fascinating. Highly recommend this very small book, out from Coffee House Press. I want to thank them very much for sending me this early copy. So that's Savage Conversations by Leanne Howe. It packs a punch. I'm just telling you, it is definitely worth the read. The next book also comes out tomorrow, and I'm really hoping that work goes well so that I am able to attend her book launch. If you are in the Bay Area, she will be having her book launch at Books Inc. Mountain View. I want to say it's 7 o'clock tomorrow, and I highly recommend you go out and meet the author Devi S. Laskar, who wrote The Atlas of Reds and Blues. This was sent to me from Counterpoint Press, and thank you so very, very much. Told in a very poetic way, this is the story of a woman who is mainly known to us as Mother, who at the very start of the book is on the ground outside her house as her house has been taken over by the police. She goes through what has led to this point in two sort of ways. This is a family. The mother is Bengali, and her family immigrated to the United States. She is married, and her children move from sort of Atlanta proper to the suburbs, where they deal with racism on a whole different level than they did in their prior life. And what has happened here is at the very beginning of the novel, we realize that her house is there's been this sort of invasion. She is outside on the sidewalk, and she flips between times of how her family moved to this location and also her youth and her becoming acclimated to America. You can tell that Devi is a poet. It's very poetic. It jumps from all of these time periods, but it never becomes convoluted. The language is very, very beautiful, and she has a way of sort of aching your heart with a very simple turn of phrase. I really enjoyed this book, and I really hope I get to meet her tomorrow because I want to ask her all sorts of questions about it. And so that is Devi S. Laskar's The Atlas of Reds and Blues, and this is out again tomorrow. Thank you very much, Counterpoint Press. Super excited about that one. The next book I'm going to tell you about is one that I just reviewed. I think this comes out on Friday. You know, it's sometimes hard for me to remember when things come out, but this one definitely comes out tomorrow. And if you are in the Bay Area, she is having her book launch party Wednesday, February 6th at 7:30 at Green Apple Books on the Park, which is on 9th. She's going to be hosted by R.O. Kwan, and I am definitely going to be there for this one. And that is The Collected Schizophrenias by Esme, Weijun, Wang. I'm not going to say much about this because I just reviewed this in a read and reviewed, but it is a powerful collection where Esme talks about her diagnosis with schizoaffective disorder, how she was originally diagnosed with bipolar disorder and how it changed into to a different diagnosis, how that affects her life. Also, it goes through all sorts of different things: her relationship with her husband, her college years, her just dealing with life on a day-to-day basis. It is fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. I want to thank Grey Wolf Press very much for sending me an early copy of this. This was one of my most anticipated reads of 2019. 5 stars across the board, and this cover is freaking gorgeous. And I just read on Twitter, I think that this has already gone into a second printing, and it doesn't come out until tomorrow. So that's The Collected Schizophrenias by Esme, Weijun, Wang, out from Grey Wolf Press tomorrow. Okay. The big book that comes out tomorrow that everyone knows about 100% is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. I'm not going to say much about this. The start of a fantasy series by an amazing writer, told from, it's sort of an African folkloric point of view, sort of being called the Game of Thrones of the African folklore perspective. I don't know. I've started this book, and it is just, the proof itself is just a tome. This was also out randomly at the bookstore yesterday, and the hardback is actually easier to hold. I am going to be trying to see Marlon James. He will be here in Santa Cruz Monday, February 18th, 7:30, Santa Cruz Bookshop. I am definitely going to be going to that. I'm actually taking the day off work to go see Marlon James and get a signed copy of this book. So I'm super excited about it. I probably don't need to say much. Black Leopard, Red Wolf, Marlon James, get it. Okay, I'm a little bit on the fence. I can't remember if this book comes out on February 5th or if it comes out on February 12th. So I apologize. But if it one or the other, and it is actually switching into the February 12th, and this will be in a read and reviewed video actually in the next couple days because I have read it. And that is, I'm going to hold it up here because the proof does not have a great cover. This is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I believe he is Greek, so I am saying that horribly, horribly wrong, and I apologize, Alex. This is a fantastic, again, a thriller. Basically, what we have at the beginning of the novel is a woman who has been caught having shot her husband in the head 5 times. She has been committed to an asylum where she hasn't spoken since the incident occurred. Our main character is a psychotherapist who gets a job basically because he is utterly fascinated with her and wants to see if he can get her story told. What happens here, told in flipping perspectives between him working with her and his investigation into her past, as we also get to read her journals leading up to the incident that occurs. So good, you guys. Read this book in basically a day and a half, was totally enveloped. I don't read a bunch of thrillers, so everything was a surprise to me. Totally loved it, totally edge of my seat. Really, really enjoyed this. This is actually out from Celadon Books, and I believe this is the first book that's coming out from this imprint, and it has me hooked. And that is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. And I apologize, Alex, again, if I say that last name wrong. The cover of this is very different, so I apologize I don't have it with me, but highly recommend. This was a lot of fun to read. The next book is a tiny novella that I read and absolutely loved. That is The Haunting of Tramcar 15 by P. Djeli Clark. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Out from Tor Books on the 12th. This is the story of a haunted tram car in 1912 Cairo. In this alternate universe, there is a part of the government that investigates hauntings. There's actually jinn that are part of the community as well. And there's sort of this supernatural, fantastic elements to the world. All sorts of interesting things occur as they investigate. This pair of investigators investigate what is going on in this tram car. As you can imagine, it is not what we expect, and it leads to sort of a very interesting discussion about, I want to say it's Algerian, and I apologize. It's been a while since I've read this, and I want to say there's some Algerian folklore in this as well. At the end of the book, we meet a character, Agent Fatma, which I have already tweeted to the author, needs to have her own book. Was fantastic. Totally loved this, totally bought in, super fun. Tor novellas never let me down. And that is The Haunting of Tramcar 15 by P. Djeli Clark, out on the 12th. Please get these. I always support Tor. I truly, truly love them. Okay, we are now going into the books that I have not read, so quick synopsises on them. Some of them I've talked about fairly recently. Coming out on the 19th is Lost Children Archive by Valeria, Luiselli, and this is from Knopf. This is a book that takes place as a family trip from across the United States. So they come from the East Coast headed to Arizona. We have the father who is a documentary filmmaker, the mother who is involved in some sort of activist radio show. She becomes very involved with the children that are being held at the border and then basically disappearing as they try to enter the United States. In addition, we have the family dynamic of an issue that has arisen between the parents as the children watch as their relationship also is diminishing. A fascinating idea on the road trip novel and told from a different perspective. Now, the author wrote a fantastic book called The Story of My Teeth that was so strange. I have never forgotten it, and I really loved, so I'm super excited about this. And my friend Ann Kingman, who is one of my go-to book recommenders, is very excited about this book too. She has already read it. I want to say this starts the books that are coming out on February 19th. I'm 99% sure that this comes out on the 19th of February. That's Lost Children Archive by Valeria, Luiselli. And again, I want to thank them so much for giving me this early copy. I just talked about this book, but I think it deserves another one. Again, coming out on February 19th, I want to say, I'm 99% sure, is The Glovemaker by Ann Weisgarber, set in 1888 Utah. This is the story of a Mormon woman in a house by herself in the middle of farm country when a stranger arrives. What does he bring with him? What decisions does she need to make? Does she protect her family, or does she help someone in need? Who's following him, and what will that bring to her family? I've heard nothing but good things from the people that have read this book. I want to thank Skyhorse Publishing for sending me a copy, and I will probably be jumping on this one sooner rather than later. That's The Glovemaker by Ann Weisgarber. Super excited. Another book that I just talked about is The Secret of Clouds, also out on the 19th by Alyson Richman. The story of two women and their relationship with a young boy, the mother and the teacher. This book takes place basically in two cities, Kiev and somewhere in the United States, which I am totally blanking on right now, as these women work and live with this young boy who suffers from an illness that means that he can't really leave his home. This is Alyson Richman's. She's had a lot of novels. I wanted to say I counted them, and now the number has blanked my mind. But I'm super excited. I love books about the dynamic of a teacher with a young student and a mother-teacher-son dynamic. So I want to thank very much Berkeley Publishing for sending me an early copy of The Secret of Clouds by Alyson Richman. Next on this list is The Last Romantics by Tara Conklin. Now, Tara is also going to be at Santa Cruz on, I want to say, February 14th. So Valentine's Day? It's either the 14th or the 13th. I can't quite remember. But unfortunately, I am traveling for work and I will not be able to see her, and I am so sad. The Last Romantics is a story. I'm trying to get you guys the exact. This is the story of a poet who is asked about the inspiration regarding one of her major works, the love poem. And she tells the audience sort of the story of how this came into play. And it really tells her life story. And it's about her family, betrayal, and how that betrayal reverberates really throughout her family's history. I don't want to know much more about this book because I want it to be a surprise, but I am super excited about it. I love the idea of a work of art, a work of literature, inspiring a family saga. This is out on February 19th as well, I do believe. And that is The Last Romantics by Tara Conklin. She wrote a book called The House Girl, you guys may remember. It had a beautiful cover. So I am all on board for this one. Just 3 more, I promise. This video is getting long. I Am God was sent to me by, I want to say Restless Press, but I should make sure. Restless Books, absolutely. This is the story of God. And he has fallen in love with a young woman, and he falls in love with a human, and not just any human, but a geneticist and fanatical atheist who's certain she can improve upon the magnificent creation she doesn't even give him credit for. It's just frustrating for a god. I believe this is told in a journal format, or sort of like a diary from God's perspective. I think that cover is just gorgeous. I'm fascinated by this. This is by Giacomo Sartori, translated from the Italian by Federica Randall. Again, this comes out on February, oh, I'm a little bit late. This is on February 5th. So this comes out tomorrow, so you can get your copy right now. So that is I Am God by Giacomo Sartori, translated from the Italian by Federica Randall, out from Restless Books. Thank you, Restless, very, very much. Can't you guys tell? I try to read as much as I can, but there are so many good books in the world. Really. Coming out again on February 19th is The Familiars by Stacey Halls. I believe it comes around the same time in the UK as well. I have talked about this book a number of times because I'm super excited about it and in love with this cover. This is the story of a 17-year-old girl who is pregnant for the 4th time, but none of her babies have come to term. She finds a letter that sort of explains why, and she becomes involved with a woman who has promised to help her actually have her baby be born. In doing so, Alice Gray, who is the young woman who is going to help her as a midwife, is then convicted of being a witch. And she is sort of swept into everything. And our main character, whose name is Fleetwood, which I absolutely love, Fleetwood and this young woman, this midwife, Alice, become entwined in each other's lives and how that they can help each other. But there's more to Alice than meets the eye. That is The Familiars by Stacey Halls. If that is not enough to have you pick up this book when it comes out on February 19th, I don't know what else I can do for you guys. I am super happy and thank Mira Books for sending me this early copy. I really appreciate it. Last but not least is a book that I mentioned actually in a few videos, including my books that are coming out that you may want to pick up for Black History Month. And that is The Care of Feeding and Ravenous Hungry Girls by Anissa Gray. Again, also coming on the 19th of February. This is the story of 3 sisters. One, the older sister, who's always sort of been in charge and had the perfect life, when her and her husband are convicted of a crime. It sort of brings shame to the whole family, and the 2 younger sisters have to step in, move back into the home that they were raised in, and raise their sister's children, their young daughters. All of that sounds amazing. This cover is fantastic. I am super excited about this book, and that is The Care of Feeding and Ravenous Hungry Girls. The Care and Feeding of Ravenous Hungry Girls by Anissa Gray. Comes out on February 19th. I've really messed this one up. And this was also sent to me from Berkeley Books. Please pre-order this. Please pre-order all of these. They all sound amazing to me, and I've read a good portion of these books, and I can tell you they are all worth your time. As always, I wish you guys a very, very happy week. Happy reading. If you are a return subscriber, thank you so much. If you are new to my channel, I hope every single one of these books winds up on your TBR. And until next time, again, happy reading, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!